Welcome to servicesixsigma.com. You are in early. We go live with our guest on the hour. So what we do is we actually go live in theory 10 minutes early, and we're going to make this as entertaining as possible while Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, etc. publish to that we're live. That way we can get a decent audience. Everybody knows they get a notification, right? So hang around. We'll try and make it as entertaining as possible, and then if you are in replay, just buzz your way forward somewhere between 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes forward, and you'll see the change, and that's where you can jump in. You don't have to watch this each time, okay? All right, we'll see you at the o'clock, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Ben here with Epic Exterior Services. Wish you guys all an epic day. Thank you for joining our live stream at 7 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We thank you for joining. You're going to learn so much out of this Service Six Sigma. We'll be going over lots of topics. If you want to see past topics, visit www.servicesixsigma.com. You can see past streams, the event calendar, and what is all about Service Six Sigma. We are currently looking for more influencers as well. So if you want to be part of the leadership team of Service Six Sigma, contact us today or message me privately, and we will get you started. Have an epic day. Bye-bye.
When you're numb to the touch, you cannot chase this ghost away. And this too shall pass, this too shall pass. It won't always be the same. And every single scar that you claim is a stone in the path to this place. And every single choice that you made has led you this way. So lay your head on me, lay your head on me, lay your head on me, lay your head on me. Don't be afraid of love. See it in your eyes, love. And your secret is not safe with me. You can spin through the night with your powder mind, but don't cover up your scars for me. And every single choice that you made was a stone in the path to this place. And every single cut that you claim has led you this way. Lay your head on me, lay your head on me, lay your head on me, lay your head on me.
Bada boom. Good evening and good morning. It's good morning from me and good evening from him. Hey, we are going to be talking today with our old partner in Accelerate Advanced Training for Window Cleaners, Mr. Matt Adwell. And but first, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on what is Service Six Sigma, and then on the o'clock, we are going to get going for an amazing, highly informative, and highly it's going to be revelation after revelation. It's going to be great. So, Service Six Sigma is for the service industry. It's a podcast, live stream, where we're talking about all the aspects of business. And the Six Sigma part is Six Sigma is actually a business term, right? It's the process of perfecting what's going on in your business through to perfect by the elimination of known things that go wrong, right? Because that's basically how you find out what's not right in your systems and processes, right? So the airline industry is meant to be Six Sigma. The nuclear industry is meant to be Six Sigma. And then we are all on this journey, this process towards Six Sigma. So to help in that, we broke down the structure of businesses into 6 sectors. So sector 1 is attract, right? When you go to attract a customer, that's where local influencing comes into play, right? Where you're a local influencer and you're running your social media and you're running door knocks and you're going into the shopping malls and all that. How do you attract a customer? And having attracted a customer, how do you convert them? So A for attract, C for convert. Then you've got to deliver your tools, your techniques, your route management, your everything like that. A lot of that we'll talk about today because I remember some of that stuff. And so now you've got ACD for deliver, then you've got ACDC for control. That's your admin, your systems and processes, your operations manuals, your training manuals, your training sessions, all that sort of thing. So that's your, my alarm's going off. So that is your ACDC. You can remember that. Attract, convert, deliver, control. Then you can scale. Once you've got all that done, you can scale and go into multiple trucks. Once you've got yourself a big business, you can give back because it's meant to be cascading. We can give to you, our guests will give to you, and then it becomes your turn to give to the next guy so that, the industry keeps going, with the young blood coming up. And that is my summary. You can see the rest of it on service6sigma.com. And I will introduce now our guest of tonight, Mr. Matt Adwell.
Hey, Perry.
Hello.
How you doing?
Okay. I'll drop my tempo a little bit. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you? You look
I am great. I'm living the life, right? I've got a
Well, I guess so.
great.
I mean, your name's in capital letters. I've got a lot of lowercase, so it's clearly you've got an advantage.
That's my ego, bro. Just caps. Hey, we go back a long, long way, don't we?
We met in 2014, I think, at the huge convention.
Well, we must have hit it off because I met a lot of people everybody meets a lot of people at the huge convention.
Well, yeah, you had the air bazooka.
I had an air bazooka? What was that?
It was, all I remember is you were going around hitting people with giant puffs of air.
Was that me?
Oh, that was you.
Oh, that sounds like Ron Musgraves. Okay.
Right up to your buzz.
So I'm glad I was successful in attracting you.
It worked well. We had a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Yeah. So then what we did is we got together because we both got a passion for I don't know if it's help or education or both, right? But it's definitely there, right? That was our synchronicity, alignment, and flow was in that, wanting to pass on, wasn't it?
Well, I think too, we both had a desire we always analyze things and look for the best route possible. I think that it was one thing that when I watched your training videos, even before we met, and I watched the way you did things, it was the same way I did things. If there was a better way, you were always looking to make small improvements in efficiency.
Yeah. That was in fact, that became Accelerate, right? Because
Right.
That's what we realized is that if you could if you actually think about, you just heard my introduction to Service Six Sigma. That's what Service Six Sigma is.
Right.
Exactly. Just the same thing with a different name without me realizing that we're doing the same thing, because we're talking 2015, we did Accelerate, right?
Right.
So here we are 9 years later. And as people wouldn't understand, but that we traveled, through America with little events, and it was, I don't know, $200 per person or something. It wasn't very much, and it wasn't very much for us in the end, was it?
It was a lot of good fun and memories.
Yes, a lot of fun and memories and no money. But but it was, it's so, training is a really demanding thing. And when you think about the people who put their effort into helping other people with training, it's really worth respecting them, I think, more than you imagine, unless you've done it yourself.
Well, and it's hard to put yourself out there because I don't think you necessarily see yourself as an expert. Um, but if you have something to share, then you can help somebody. Sometimes sometimes you see somebody else and you have the answer and you go, okay, I've been down that road. I've got something I
Yeah,
could talk about. And then
yeah,
sometimes somebody else has something and they do the same thing for you. So it works out really well in the end. But we had a lot of things that we kind of met, I think, in the middle on.
yeah,
And we're
yeah,
kind of because
yeah. And we've
there
done a
was a
lot of
lot packed into those 2 days.
wow, a lot. We only have. Did you find any slides with any of the papers? Butcher paper.
Not other than the mind map things I sent over to you, and
Okay,
those were two like 20-minute, 15-minute introductory things. We had page after page of that information.
page after page. Oh, this is a huge convention. This was me
Yep.
teaching the Victory V. That
Yep.
was a that was a memorable day. That one. I was my job. My job was to get the crowd first speaker, get the crowd warmed up and ready to roll.
It was an electric room for sure.
Yeah, that was great. But Ben, if you jump to the photo where I've got one set of pieces of paper behind me at the wall. And what we did is we used each time anybody was speaking, Matt and me, and then also we had for part of it we had Matt Gallure with us, and we used these butcher's papers, and then we stuck them all around the room, and we actually took photos of them as we went around the room. But neither of us can find those photos. But it was a lot of. We really looked at every aspect of the business and say, I wonder if there was another photo that I saw. Let me just look at my favorites while I'm talking about that. But Matt, that top left one, that 80-20, that was yours, wasn't it?
So I think that, yeah, that was kind of one of those things that 80/20 was just realizing that chasing perfection and everything as window cleaners, right? Because that was my background, that was your background. So we had kind of, now I think we both would look at ourselves maybe more as a business owner than a window cleaner, but I identify deep down as a window cleaner. And we
Yes.
tend to be perfectionists because you can see everything.
Yes.
um, but realizing that in a lot of things, the 80/20 rule is where efficiency is. Like you can find efficiencies in things. You realize 80% is just sufficient, and chasing that last 20% is not always necessary.
The thing that I remember from you, one of the takeaways that I got from you was that, your target, which is similar to that graph, right? That circle point, right? The target is customer satisfaction. And what would you say? Everything everything more than the customer satisfaction?
Yeah, so that was one of the things we talked about. Anything beyond customer satisfaction is basically a hobby that we're doing for ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think
I
you
never
you
forgot
talked
that.
about when you were what was it? You used to work back when you did window cleaning years ago, and you had property managers, and you would clean with unfiltered water,
Yeah, yeah,
even,
yeah,
and
yeah.
just
We
go
would clean
through, and you
100,
go,
100 parts per million on black glass,
yeah,
and we didn't have. So let's drop. Ben, go down to the periodic table because that drops into the periodic table. That whole pitch. See if you go down to below the 80-20 slide, it says periodic table, and slide up there. Zoom in. So what we talked about is that what I worked out is that in Sydney, did you hear me, Ben? Nod? Or are you frozen? Oh, you're there. What I worked out is that the minerals in the water in Sydney don't dry white, right? And then I go, so why does the whole industry say you've got to have below 10 parts per million? And And it's because most of the minerals, in particular, because the pure water industry started. There you go. Yeah, just that little bit there before the wet up window. So most of the minerals in the UK, where water-fed window cleaning was invented by Craig Morlam, right? You've got the White Cliffs of Dover. The water's coming through limestone. So the TDS is up, 900, 1200, like that. And then you have a look at this periodic table, which you can see on the screen there. Looking at the top left of the periodic table is looking at you. The top left, that's where you've got sodium, calcium, lithium, magnesium, right? And they all dry white. Now, over on the right-hand side, you've got ferrous and this and that and nitrates and all these other ones. They dry brown or black or blue or green or whatever, but they don't dry white. White is a reflection of all light. Black is the absorption of all light. So if you've got minerals that dry black, you'll never see a spot. And if you've got only minerals that dry white, you'll see a spot at 10 parts, more than 10 parts per million. So then we used to make a DI system, which you could adjust the TDS out. So residentially on clear glass, we used 50 parts per million, and commercially on black glass, we used 100 parts per million straight tap water, which was sacrilegious when I was selling pure water systems and saying to people, if you're doing these jobs, you don't even need to use it. And even to today, nobody believes me. Like the whole industry, the resellers and everything would not let anybody believe that. It's 10 parts per million. If it goes above, 2 parts per million, you need to change everything and spend more money and all that.
So I'm looking here at Jason's comment about it all being numbers, and if you can save 5 minutes per hour per job with each tweak, you can start saving 30 minutes a day compounded over time. We had that conversation. Remember, we went through the whole thing about even every little thing that you do, like if you, because coming from the technical side of it, it goes, you can take this through to business, but if you were able to save pulling a towel out and putting it back, and you could save doing that and only do it one time for 20 windows, it saved you 19 times of pulling your towel out and back, and it was all these little things that you could do that added efficiency through it, and they were cumulative over time.
Well, this is what Ben, you jump on as well here, because I was talking to Ben the other day and he says, have you got a product like, what was it? Can you remember? You pull the tube and the water turns on and off.
Oh, the why am I not? It's a
little tap.
Yeah, it basically is where it runs up your pole, and you can pull on the hose, and it will turn off the water. Pull on it again, it'll turn on the water on the brush.
And Ben was saying, have you got something like that? I said, dude, you do not want to start introducing 2 actions per window.
But you brought up a very good point.
Did I?
Do you remember what you said?
No, you can.
You said something along the lines how it's a good product for like some places like Australia, where some cities you can't have the water, or the UK. But for all of us in the US, it's not really an issue. And matter of fact, it's not an issue. Where
what happens in the UK, they can't use their customers' water, so they carry water, and then they've got a limit of how much water per day they've got, and then they measure that out, so that even that little bit of time between. So what their resource that they're trying to save is water. In the rest of the world, nobody, water. It rains. It goes into a lake, it evaporates, it turns into a cloud, and it rains. It's life. It goes round and round and round. Like you can't save water. But if you've got a tank and you've got to go and refill it, then you've got to, be okay. Then you can. But you're going to slow yourself down.
Well, and we talked through even like other little efficiencies. Like let's say you were going to clean windows. We talked scrub patterns a lot, because I would run across guys, and every guy I trained would over scrub windows. And so we said, okay. And I remember you had an old video on your first training thing where you had a bank of windows and you showed this was 1 scrub, this is 2 scrubs, this is 3, this is 4. And you found the best one that was within that. And I did the same thing. I had come to the same conclusion as you did independently of you. And I always contended this: if I could run around a house and do 2 scrubs per window, and I missed 2 things and had to go back and fix them, and somebody else could do 4 scrubs per window and they wouldn't miss anything. I'm so much faster to be able to only do 2 scrubs per window and go back and touch up 2 little things. That it just saves
One,
you
yep.
2 scrubs on every window.
And then you start transferring that, like, when
Right.
if somebody's listening and they're just working on their own, you got to get some real efficiency out of that. You start transferring that into a team where you're running trucks and you've got workers out there who have been trained in that, and that's part of the reason why we do the water fed on the outside and in a predictable way, so that the guy on the inside is following the water fed guy, because he's the one who's going to efficiently see that you've missed a spot here, you have a streak there, you go back at the end of your cleaning process and touch up those 2 points, you walk out, you're miles ahead of that guy. Well, you're miles ahead of everybody.
I'm looking at what Sean's saying here. He says we have 3 guys. Sometimes one does the washing, one does the squeegeeing, one details the edges. Worked beautifully. So specialization we talked about how that created efficiency. There was times where that did. But the bigger thing I think that we came across, and this was in our conversations before we went on the tour, and it was something I'd been doing for a long time, but we really kind of honed in on it as we prepared, was skilled versus unskilled work. And how you could take a skilled person and double their speed with somebody that walked in off the street. I wish we had that picture, because that was the most powerful one.
And that's the one which Harrison remembers the most, by the way.
Yeah. It's the one where we listed out every single task on a job.
Yes.
And
I think I've got that somewhere. I know I've got it somewhere, because I remember seeing it one day and going, oh my goodness, in 2 days, we talked about all of that.
Matt,
he's here.
Long time.
What's
Sorry,
up, brother?
I had to deal with something. God, you're looking good.
You as well.
Handsome as always.
As always. Well, Harrison's looking more handsome these days, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Young Harrison was not really looking. Nobody would have called him handsome.
Oh,
do it, Ben. Do it. Do it.
Perfectly.
My worst photo.
That was 2015. 2016, Harrison was he was trimmed.
Yeah. Exactly. This is just like long hair, thinking that long hair means I look like Johnny Depp for whatever reason. And then like you always get that one bad angle, that one like in the moment shot.
Yeah, I've got lots of them.
All of my shots are that way.
Harry sends me this photo maybe once every 10 months, something like that. Just
at least
like
once a year.
Put me in my place.
Just to ground you, Harrison.
Yeah, that's
remember where you've come from.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So Harrison, Matt was just alluding to and heading down the pathway of training new guys and getting them to be the most efficient. I said, well, that's the thing which Harrison got as a takeaway, which you mentioned to me last night when I said Matt's coming on. So I think you could probably show Matt what you learned from him 9 years ago, and you've never been a window cleaner. So you've walked away with this knowledge.
Yeah.
Yep, go.
Okay, so like when you're training new staff, one of the things that every window cleaner wants to train is exactly how to be a window cleaner just like them. And the reason why that is incorrect, from at least what I learned from Matt, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, because I got off my memory, but it's incorrect because what you want to do is get them on the glass as efficiently as possible, as quickly as possible. So if you just teach them something as simple as straight pulls, rather than actually teaching them actually how to like use a mop and a squeegee properly, they will be cleaning windows from day one, 5 minutes in, 6 minutes in, and then all day they'll be making you money. And over time, you can teach them the tips and tricks on actually how to clean a window properly.
So that's absolutely right as far as teaching window cleaning, but we took it a step farther. So you're right about one thing. The first thing to identify is that you're there to make money. So the most important thing is figuring out how can I get this person to get a return on investment as quickly as possible. And the thing that we identified was, remember going through and we would list out every single task on a job. And I think we came to the conclusion that there was two things on the job that actually required skill and training. That was squeegeeing glass and using a water-fed pole, and that was kind of a lower level of skill than squeegeeing. So but you think of all the other things you do: wetting a window, drying a sill, using a towel around the edges, setting up, breaking down, staking hose, pulling out screens, dusting screens, like all of those things. You could pretty much show someone in 5 minutes how to do those things. And we tacked it up, I think, Perry, to over 80% of the job, 80% of the time. And so I could get someone else up to being just as quick as me at those types of tasks in 5 or 10 minutes. And they're just as fast as I am. So if I only do the skill, I would contend this in some ways. If I was on a job with somebody and I was just faster at squeegeeing, even if they'd been cleaning windows for a long time, we would be faster if I do all the squeegeeing and they just wipe and because everything moves at my speed.
Yes.
And so we kind of figured out how to make money with people, because that's the shortage in window cleaning, is having people that have the skill set to do it. And it was a workaround to get people up and making money.
In those old days, you're going back to 2015 when everybody was on pencil jets, right? Before we had on glass rinsing, right, with radial brush. Then product mention. But when we did commercial, like what we did is we had two guys, right, with water fed. If we had a shortage of pure water or a shortage of water pressure, for the flow rate, then we would put the first guy on tap water and he would agitate with tap water. And then the second guy would come along directly after him. So you'd have the two guys, running so that the speed, because the rinse was the slow part, right? And the agitation was the fast part in those days, right? Now we agitate on the upstroke, rinse on the downstroke. So it's gone. There's no secondary rinse phase for using a radial brush. So that whole efficiency thing has been locked into the product. But in those days, we always did commercial with two guys like that.
Right. And see, for where this came into play for us, because this, going back to the business part of it, the Sigma 6 part of it, is it unlocks your ability to scale a window cleaning business, because you can get beyond having one or two people. Then it takes, I remember we'd ask people, how long does it take to get somebody up to speed and making money cleaning windows? And I don't think anybody said less than 3 months.
No, average 6 months like that.
Yeah,
and that's
it was average 6 months, somewhere up to a year or more.
Yeah, sometimes.
And the reality was you have to get people making money much faster than that, or else you can never grow your business. Everybody was.
And then we asked, what was the average time that somebody stayed on the tools, and it was like 5 years. So you can't, their logic is a year to get somebody ready, and then they work for another 4 years, and that's it. They get injured, or they don't make enough money, or they, change towns or whatever, or go and work for themselves.
Well, yeah, and that was the idea, was that this was a technical discussion in some parts, because the day one was technical, day two was more business, but it was all with an idea of creating a business that you could grow, you can scale, you can do something with, and not just, it's perfectly fine to be a guy that just goes and cleans windows, but if you're going to do that, make the most money you can while you're doing it. And if you want to grow a business, then use the strategies, to be able to grow beyond yourself.
Matt, what do you reckon is the hourly rate? Because you've got a scaled business now, but what do you reckon is the hourly rate that transitions somebody has to get to, basically, let's say they start off as an owner operator, then they bring on a second person into their truck. So they've got 2-man crew. Then we want to get what hourly rate gets them, and you're in the high end of affordability, but you've also got the higher end of costs where you live, isn't it?
Sure.
You're close to. Are you close to DC?
Yeah, I'm
Are you
about
up that way?
35 minutes away.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in your, we'd have to adjust this for Iowa, for example, but, what's the hourly rate you reckon that you need to get to with a two-man truck in order to get a second two-man truck on the road and know that you're stable and safe? Yeah.
See, I don't think in terms of hourly rates because I think in more you have to because runs against your expenses. So as long as
Yep.
you're profitable, as soon as you can pull an ample supply of work that's going to fill that truck, then it's
Put
going
it
to be
on the road.
sensible to put another truck on, right? Because and you can actually put a truck on and create a vacuum, and it almost always fills. I don't like booking way out in the future. If I'm booked
Yep.
more than a week out, I feel like I'm losing money
Yep.
because
Yep.
you
Yep. Yep.
could,
Yep.
there's somebody that wants something right away that I can't do. Everybody runs a different business model, but that for me is the way I
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah, just that I know there are a lot of guys. If I go, for all the guys we've spoken to over the years, and some of them are at $60 an hour, and then some of them are at $100 an hour, and I go, there's a, as far as what they're averaging, and then I go, like there's a point you have to, and my point is that to get across the line, you've got to get efficiency. You've got to fit more chargeable money into a day. So that's where efficiency gives you don't have to charge more per job than what you're charging now. You just need to get more efficient in the job so you can squeeze more jobs into the day.
Yeah, because when it comes to charging, there's always got to be a line, right? It's just dials, and you got to figure out where's the line where you can get enough people that'll pay it while it still stays profitable,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
As profitable as possible. So you're kind of dialed into a point, and that where the needle is, and you go, okay, that's exactly kind of where I want to. That's the sweet spot there. If I make it any higher, I'm not going to get enough clients, and if I make it lower, I could get a bunch of clients, but it's not going to be
right.
profitable. I'll just keep myself busy.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Which we
yeah.
identified a lot of that too about the keeping myself busy part, and realizing that that's not the goal.
Yes. Yes, I think those were the distinctions that you really brought to the table, is that, this because you'd been a window cleaner, like your background, you were like 10 years of tech, right? Weren't you, before you started your own business?
I I think I had 18 years of tech.
18 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was a
Yeah.
slow learner, Perry.
But when you broke away, you knew exactly what you were going to do, but you
Yeah,
really broke away with this knowledge, is that you have to be busy doing the thing that is the business, whatever your
right.
business is. In our case, it's window cleaning. So you have to be busy when cleaning windows. If you're not cleaning windows, what are you doing with that time, and is it wasted?
Right. Yeah, it's got to be. I always feel like sales cover a multitude of sins. I remember thinking that, you can make a
Yes,
lot of
I learned
mistakes
that too.
you can make
Yes.
a lot of mistakes in business, but if you're making money, you can afford to do it sometimes, and then you learn as you go and you get there, kind of.
There's actually, I watched a whole training session on that, and they said that if your margin, right, is high,
Hmm.
then you focus on sales. If your margin is low, you focus on costs. So if you're like a Costco or whatever, then they will focus on their costs, right, as well, because that's where their money loss might be in just wastage at that end. But when your margin is high, and of course the service industry is the highest margin in the world, kind of thing, because there's very little cost. So then you just focus on sales because you're adding, you know, $100 an hour back into your business. Like there's not,
Right.
times the number of workers. So not every business can do that. If you're opening a
Well,
pharmacy or
I,
something.
I learned a lot of stuff from you on that trip too, because one of the things that you used to talk about, and I appreciated it, was how you make a business decision when it comes to tools. And I think that crosses a lot of industries, but we were using it in terms of, let's say, RO versus DI. And you could have a high TDS, but if your season was really short, or you only used it a few days a week, or you were only an occasional cleaner, then why would you go get a really expensive system? Stay on the cheap system until it makes dollars and
Yeah,
cents there's a
Yeah.
dollar and cents tangible benefit to it. You don't have to
Yeah.
get it because you're just happen to be in a high TDS area. I thought those are learning how to make good business decisions on things like that, and where to tip the scale between, because I think a lot of new companies, they come in and they want the best of the best when it comes to tools, and you realize
Well,
that life's bigger than sales.
they get they get sold at the problem with finance. Finance is such a curse for everybody. If you understand money, it is a curse, and a lot of the resellers use the finance so that the people don't realize how much money they're spending to get into the business. And then they don't even think that somebody goes, well, you can make $100 an hour, and this is only going to cost you $200 a week or something. And so you get this bad math, right, kind of thing, where they're not looking at whether it's right. Because even now I sit on live chat kind of like overnight American time, because I'm 12 hours ahead. Yeah. So Ian and Jimmy go to bed, and me and Harrison jump on, and I still send people to Culligan's, right? Somebody wants an RO system, and I go, you haven't got the money, you haven't got the customers, you haven't got just
right.
Go and get a cubic foot from Culligan's, and doesn't matter what your TDS, that'll clean it. And the way you got to start. You're only renting it, and the day you're making money, you want to buy efficient tools more than you want to buy efficient brush, efficient pole is way more important than an RO system, which does nothing for your efficiency. Yeah.
Well, and that was the one that would kill me, because you'd find people and with the best of intentions, they're wanting to get better and better and bigger and faster tools and better equipment. And you go, well, how many days a week? Well, we're working 3 days a week. We're really working to try to get more clients. And you go, why do it faster if you don't have the clients to? Well, you'll be done and sitting home quicker. Like there's
yeah.
it goes, but put your efforts and your resources into bringing the clients in. When you have too many clients, then let's get faster.
Yes. Yes. And the other thing, I'll tell you, because you referred to it earlier, but I've remembered one of those graphs, and it's really difficult to draw a graph. It's really difficult to draw a graph when you're looking at a mirror of yourself. And I don't think it is there. Thank you, Ben, but it's not there. But that wet up window, that's going to be Matt and Harrison, right? That one. Okay, so back to me full screen, and I'll try and draw this graph without looking at myself. Okay, here we go. Okay, so basically a window, if this is dirty and this is clean, over time, a window gets dirtier and dirtier and dirtier, and then you clean it. And then over time, it gets dirtier and dirtier and dirtier, and then you clean it. Remember that one? So business people and property managers, facilities managers understand that the day after you've cleaned that window perfectly, it's going to start getting dirty again. So they're not looking for a perfect clean. They are looking for a contrast result. Clean enough is good enough, because no matter how perfect you think you're going to get it today, tomorrow it's going to start being dirty again. And professional people understand that. Homeowners don't.
Right.
Professional people understand that. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Homeowners don't always have the eye for it. So that's
another one.
And
yep.
I tell you, I told Perry, you remember how I think people lost a lot of respect for me on that tour, because I would tell all these stories about myself, and they're like, this guy's a terrible window cleaner. But it was just that I understood what people,
the old people, you'd say about the old lady who can't see anything, you're going like, so her customer satisfaction level is really different from the optometrist who wants his windows cleaned.
Right, yeah. We have lots of happy customers.
Even I was shocked at that one.
We have a lot of happy customers.
Yes,
but
exactly.
It's true. I mean,
that's it, because you're exactly right. This is business, right? This is service. And these controversial, which you and I have never been afraid of, the controversial topics, if they're solidly true.
Right.
They're in truth. right? Okay, they don't work for the sales system. They don't work for you know you know taking a lot of money off somebody or whatever. But they're true. So that if
Right.
they're true, they're okay, right?
So I'll tell
Believe it
you,
or not.
I think even after Accelerate, I realized something. I realized you can't scale perfection. So like if you're used to doing really perfect work, it's not scalable because you can't find anybody else that you're not gonna be able to train somebody to do what you do. And
Mm-hmm.
so what we started doing was systemizing in how to handle imperfection. So we would do a good job, we train a good job, but we just recognize that it's not going to be perfect. That sometimes people are, you're going to be sending somebody out to do work that was trained 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they're going to make a mistake. So what we systemized was how we handle the mistakes. And by
Magnificent.
running at mistakes, well, that we can control. And
Yeah.
that's controllable. You can scale that. And then if there's an error, you run at it, you fix it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it allowed us to kind of grow past some of the fear of being able to, not be able to scale this perfect thing that you were trying to do, and coming away from that entrepreneurial mindset, or coming away from the
Yes.
technician mindset into an entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah. And the I never leave a spot, and that's my job because I'm a professional window cleaner, and they call me for that. And you know, and as a businessman, you're going to go, I don't want to leave a spot, but if I do leave a spot, I know what I'm going to do about it. So it's not what goes
Right.
wrong; it's how you handle what goes wrong. And
Exactly.
you have a
And
system
if
and a process
you
for
can
that.
systemize that you can
Yeah.
scale.
Yes. Amazing. Harrison, what was the other one was the you did you talk about the straight pull versus the fanning?
I did. And the first thing I talked about,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, one
I
of the
just
things I
saw
was
that.
thinking about is that Matt used to say, I don't care how the window's cleaned. Like if I could just blow on it and it was cleaned, that's all that mattered.
That's what it's saying. That's what it's saying. If I could just walk up to the window and spit and blow and
Yeah, and everyone in the room is a perfectionist, right? So
Yeah.
they're all like, no.
They're painfully watching us like straight pull a window. But remember, we did that, and we went through the training program, and we had people squeegeeing, and like, you took a video of it at one point. It was like 6 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's fanning a window down.
Yep. Wasn't there? I don't know who it was. Maybe Chris or somebody. Somebody came along and he showed that he just put a bunch of bubbles in the middle of the window, and he just move it around in the middle of the window.
That was 2015 in DC. That was Chris Cartwright.
Yeah,
and he just keep walking through like he'd had lunch or something, and then he's like, "Hey, let me show you something."
Yeah, and he could just keep the bubbles, for the people who are in the podcast not watching, but he would put soap up, nice and soapy, but he'd soap up in the middle of the window, and then he could just move the soap. So his the fluidity of his wrist, I don't know what you want to say, he would have it such that he'd move it up and move it down and move it sideways and just play with it, and then all of a sudden you could see the fanning effect. The ability to fan would be a byproduct of that ability, because you knew he was showing that you learning how to move the water, right? And that's when you go to fan, you're trying to move the water.
Riding a motorbike, right? You got to be loose. You can't hold it you can't hold it tight, otherwise the angles don't work. So it's like loosey goosey on the wrist. I don't know.
Because it just gets your motion correct, and then once the motion's correct, you can apply that to anything else.
Yeah, and if you press the other thing I think is what Harrison's also referring to as far as being a motorbike rider. If you press too hard, you can't do that, and if you press too soft, you're going to leave. So it does teach you the right amount of to naturally learn quickly the right amount of force that a squeegee rubber needs to be against glass, which is another big problem, when you're trying to teach people, because some people press too hard, some people press too soft, whatever,
Hey, so I saw a question there about how you systemize imperfection.
Go for it.
So it's not about systemizing the imperfection, it's about systemizing how you handle the imperfection. So as you're training people, you're going to be sending people out that have only been doing this for a couple of weeks, a couple of months. I mean, when I came out of the field, I think I'd been doing it for 25 years. So I literally took 25 years of experience out of my company in the field. And so we were going to have situations where somebody misses something, somebody doesn't do it right, or they get some streaks, or whatever the case is. What we systemized was how we handle that complaint, because Mrs. Jones is going to call and she's going to say, my windows don't look good. And we systemized how we handled that and figured out a way to go make that client happy. And if we can make that client happy, then in the end, we've been able to get the work done with somebody who was much less skilled and still keep happy clients. And that was always our goal. Our mission was not to be the world's best window cleaner, but it was customer happiness. That was what we identified as like our mission. So that's how.
And also, I think you've got the manager walk around as well as, like it's the early step of that. You can't always pick up the capillary action streak or that stuff happens after you've left anyway. That's not whether you've got a junior window cleaner. Well, a really experienced one will see the little gap in the rubber if his eyes are okay, and then get his little microfiber and draw that out so it doesn't drip. But short of that, that's not many people in the market at all. That's a perfectionist guy. Yeah. And also, I think, water-fed, I talked with Ben about it, but, always start water-fed in the same place on every building at the same time. If you go to the top, if it's a 2-story house, let's say you go to the top of the stairs, turn to the right, go to the most right room, go to the furthest back window, and then work back towards your vehicle and around the buildings that way. And then the internal guy, he's got to, if he hasn't already beaten you, because he might have to take screens out, but short of that, if he's behind, but he will come behind you, and that way you've always got your internal guy checking your external work, and the external work is your least experienced worker. Something. Right.
Yeah, and that was kind of what we came up with. And it's funny because when I first graduated high school, I went and worked for a little bit with my uncle, and it was window installation. I knew nothing about window installation. And I still don't know anything about window installation. But what I did learn, because he had a partner that he worked with, and I was kind of the guy that went there and carried all the windows and took all the trash out. They had a system between the two of them that they would just get out of the truck, and they didn't have to even talk. They would just go do their independent jobs. All their tools went in exactly the same spot every time. Every house was different, but they approached it in a systemized way. So they had, even though every home was different, every job was a little bit different, they did the work in the same manner. And the first thing I learned from that was just how to streamline a system and how to work with another person. And I looked at their efficiency, and they'd change, 20 windows out in a house in a day and be done and just walk away. And I think, I took those were good lessons for me at, 17 to run around and see somebody that had worked out efficiency and then apply it then in other things down the road.
This is, I really love this because it's what we see as, Service Six Sigma like being a new dream and a new vision and all that sort of thing, but I just see, I've talked to I've talked to Ben about this as well, from each of the sectors, from the influence and the attraction, attracting a customer, converting a customer, delivering the service, controlling the systems and processes, that in each service industry, there's an element of mastery that somebody may never have articulated in our industry, and there you are doing, window refitting, and you've picked up something that you may never have picked up if you'd gone and worked for another guy who was a window cleaner for that period of time, Well, yeah, and there's so much wisdom out there. We like our game plan, Ben and me, is just to interview so many people who are in the field or have scaled their business, so that there's just those little gems we can get out of them,
And I think that's where like you and I meet in the middle so much. I mean, because wherever you go, and I'm the same way, you learn something. I'll never forget my grandfather. He had a bucket of tools, and he'd put all these tubes in there, and every tool had its exact place. And I was welcome to use the tools, but if I didn't put it back where it was supposed to go, that was it. There was no more tools.
And you're a family, right?
So you know what? I learned how to be organized and put things back where they go, and then I don't lose them. And that was his thing was efficiency. He didn't want to look for tools all day, and so
Well, I'll
little
tell you
things.
what. On the 6th of March is Byron Guest, the mod man, and he is that guy. Like, talk about a place for everything in its place. That's Byron. You want to, you'd love him.
I'm not quite that organized, probably.
No, but we're actually gonna work with Byron and try and commercialize some of his conclusions, because he's probably the same as you. Like, he's still in the field, but he's 25 years. Got to be 25 years. He's as grey as us.
Yes, he is. Well, the other thing that came out of Accelerate, I know because we were traveling with Mike Geller,
Yeah.
and he and I were doing a lot of work on the business side on the second day. And we did a presentation called the efficiency filter after that, a few different times, and it really it was kind of just organizing how you look at a business and realizing that alignment is that efficiency is basically getting maximum output for minimum input, and that is always going to be it's going to be achieved through alignment. In other words, everything has to be lined up in the business in the same way. So your vision, who you are as a person, as a business owner, what you're trying to accomplish, what you want your life to look like, then aligns with the values of your clients and what they want, where you're positioned in the market, and then the culture of your company and your employees. Your marketing then kind of is a natural output of that. By the time you got down to sales, there was nothing really to do because your business already solved all the problems of the client. I still use that. It's the way I make every decision in business is through that filter of efficiency, like basically looking at it like a camera filter and trying to get the most from the least and be as dialed in as possible. I mean, I remember we used the illustration of like the spine, and if you have one vertebrae out of place, you can't move. And it's that way with a business. If you go, my business isn't working, you could go to one of those places and you realize it's not in alignment. Something's out of line here. And you kind of could bring it back into, alignment, and things work smoothly. And you don't have to build a huge business to have efficiency. That may not be what you want.
The thing is that every business person should pursue efficiency at the highest level, even if you only ever want to be a one-man band, which is Byron. Byron is a one-man band.
Yeah.
But what he's been able to do as a family man, is significant.
Yeah.
As a one-man band window cleaner. I mean, he's been able to provide and do all these things. On that alignment thing, Matt, I've got a new, I don't know how new, but I think it's newer than 2015, is an acronym. Like, if you want to go fast, FAST, flow, F-A, alignment, that word, S, synchronicity, and T is team. So to go fast, you need flow, alignment, synchronicity. Synchronicity is what you and I have had, Harrison and I have, and Ben and I have, is that you're experiencing similar thoughts, possibly from a different direction, but you're experiencing synchronously. I think that's the right word. So that you're in tune without saying anything. So
well, I
it's
always
a nice
found it
one.
fascinating that you and I had come to so many of the same conclusions on things from the opposite side of the world and coming at things from totally different angles. And then we talk and we go, I thought the same way. We'd come to the same conclusion.
If we'd have kept all those recordings, all getting ready for us to travel, because we were living in China, so we came over.
Right.
And we had to get it all ready
Sure,
from China.
From
Have
back in
you?
the day. Yeah.
August 2015. Can you look it up in your photo album and see if you've got anything?
Yeah.
So no, I still have all those Accelerate videos because you guys were going to make an app out of it. Remember?
Yes.
I think we
I have
did
a
make an app,
Dropbox
didn't we?
with all of those videos from that.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of great
we could fire it up and drop it in here. I don't know how much time you've got, but I could do it, because Ben could
Oh,
run it and we just talk it
there
through,
was a lot of video from the
Yeah,
tour.
yeah, because we tried to video each session and then we were going to
Yep.
pick the best of those sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have it on my
I've
phone,
never
but I
watched
know I've got
through
it on my
it. It would be
computer and
painful.
Dropbox.
All right.
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll have to. I don't want to. Anyway, when you're free again, Matt.
I don't want to overload anyone,
I-
but here's me trying to convince you to take your time.
we don't want to do that again.
No, well, I can certainly send you all those videos because I think you sent them to me and I just put them stuck them in a file.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Galera was like, Galera taught me how to do the card in orange trick. You know, the one I did at Constellation.
Oh, really? That's right. Because Mike was a true professional magician before that.
Yeah.
Right.
Remember he had us doing the needle through the balloon? That was part of our introduction.
Yes, you could actually blow up a balloon, and then each person would come out and they'd put a needle all the way through the balloon, and it wouldn't pop. Yep.
Yeah.
A blown up balloon. But he taught Harrison how to hide half a card in an orange, and Harrison practiced and practiced and practiced. Carry on, Harry.
So it's pretty much you get someone to pick a card. The card that they randomly pick, they tear a corner off the card. They sign their name. Sorry, they sign their name across the card. Then they tear the corner off the card, and then they hold the corner, and then you disappear the other card, right? And then when you go looking for it, and you look in the deck, it's not in the deck. It's nowhere. It's not under the table mat. It's not anywhere. And what I'd done is I'd planted an orange in this cocktail bar, so they had like all the fresh fruit on the side. And so Mike taught me the magician's choice, which is like you out of all these three, you just direct them to the next answer. So you go, oh, just grab me one of those oranges. And if they pick the wrong one, you go, yeah, put that one aside and get me another, like get me the other two or something like that, right? And the guy that I was doing it was one of my good mates at the time. He picked the right orange. So I didn't even need the magician's choice. He picked the orange. This whole thing is insanely magical. And then I get the bartender to give me one of the like very small knives, and like I just slice open the orange, and I like twist it, and then open it, and then the card that matches to his corner of the card is in the orange.
Yeah.
Right. So just because it's more interesting to know how that's done, when he tore the card, he gave me both pieces, and I gave him back a different torn section that I'd already done.
That's how it happens. I've never known.
So so he thinks that's the corner that he tore, because that would only make sense, right? I've got his signature, which is on the main body of the card, right? Oh no, I didn't do the signature part. Sorry, I didn't do the signature part. It was a little bit trickier. So then the night before, I'd gotten these orange, and I took like the part that connects to the tree. I took that part off, used a biro pen, pushed an opening cavity inside, put the card inside, then super glued it back on. Right? So this has all happened the night before. And so I'm just trying to make sure that like I just do all the right patter, talk through the whole moment. My mate for a year couldn't figure it out. Just it was too much, especially because the orange was planted there from the day before.
So for like a whole day, you're hoping that no one eats this orange.
Correct. Yeah. I also
exactly that.
Some guy just comes along and like chomps it down.
I told the bartender, I was like, just don't touch these, right? Just put them behind, like have your stash behind the bar, but like don't touch these. This is gonna be perfect. Because we always sit in like the same corner spot right next to them. So I was like, oh, it's gonna be.
This is like the best. It's called Constellation Bar, the best cocktail bar, whiskey bar in Ningbo.
Oh wow!
And Harrison was dressed like in black and white. I don't know if it was a tux or not, but it was close to.
I was suited up properly, like.
And we were all. I don't know. We'd been out for dinner and something, and so there was about 10 of us, and everybody was beautifully dressed, which is really rare in Ningbo, actually. And but it was like magic. But
Because
Anyway,
like
so Mike,
all the magic tricks I knew beforehand were all really basic sleight of hand, and Mike was like, "No, like you gotta do something a little bit more like grand, right?" Like, and he inspired me. And then one day I was talking to my mate. I was like, "Yeah, I've got a friend of mine who's been teaching me magic," and my mate's like, you've got to show me one of those tricks. You're saying these are like really big tricks. You got to show me." And I was like, all right, tomorrow night I'll show you a trick. So like I spent the afternoon rewatching Mike's videos on how everything's done, going it over in my head, buying oranges. I went through like 3 oranges to do the trick like properly.
yeah,
And
it was amazing.
That's
So
awesome.
Matt, how did Mike? He drew parallels between magic and business, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was just he had done magic at business seminars in the past. So
Yeah,
he kind of he found parallels between kind of what he was doing and what, you know, it was more like like using it as an illustration. Like, so he didn't he kept trying to teach me how to do things, and Harrison, I did not have the aptitude you have, because he kept trying to teach me things, and basically he's like, well, at least you can put this needle through a balloon. And that's it. We'll just
right.
leave it at that.
you got
Yeah,
day one done.
Yeah.
I was trying to think whether what that needle through the balloon was for, because we got everybody to do it, so there must have
No,
been
it
an
was the fact
applied
that
method.
you could do things that you don't believe you can do.
There you go.
You know, and it was
Yeah.
at the very beginning. It was when we were,
Yes.
because it was at the same time you had back on that picture chart, what you know, here's what you
What?
know, here's what you know you don't know.
Yeah. And here's what
And
you don't know. You don't know.
yeah,
Yeah. You do
and that
not
was
know
powerful.
that you do not know that you can put a needle through a balloon. Yeah,
Right.
right up there by my shoulder. No, up. Yeah, there. Yeah. God, I'm looking younger.
Yeah.
But anyway, and the
That's
DK
about
is you
the
don't know, you
time.
don't know, and so much of life is you don't
Yes.
even know you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like I was talking to Ben the other day, and we've got on glass rinse, and he's going, "Are you telling me you don't even need to take the brush off the glass ever?" And I'm going, "Yep, never." You go, "No, right?" Like, but you don't, you don't even know you don't know.
Right.
Like even in window cleaning.
Sure. No,
But
I found the best, some of the best tricks and tips I learned would be from somebody who was a helper and came in and go, "Oh, why'd you do it this way? Why don't you do this?" And I go, "Well, I don't know. That's a great question."
yeah, yeah, that's it. That's what we have in common. That ability to distill a question from somebody who doesn't know.
Right.
You know,
Well, and you don't, and
there's
you never think, and I don't either, that you know everything. Like you just go around
uh,
and you go, if I find a better way, let's do it that way.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's when we try and talk about the benefit of Accelerate, and a lot of guys really did write back to us afterwards and said we'd really
Mhm.
made a huge difference to them. I can't remember them all now. Oh boy, but there's definitely some there. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it's just to know that if you take each part of your business and you break it up, and then you try and you perfect it, and the process of perfecting it is the identification of what can be done faster, or the identification of what is taking a larger percentage of your time. Like, if you're taking a long time driving between jobs, then you need to master route management,
Right.
right? Or you've got to get rid of a customer that's queuing out the time there, the time back could be 3 jobs locally. Go and get 3 jobs locally and pass that on to somebody else, as and hopefully they'll give you a customer back in your golden mile kind of thing.
And see, I think one of the things we talked about a lot too is it goes even bigger picture. So it's, if this is what you're trying to accomplish in life, like, for me, I've no desire to run a huge, massive company that takes me 80 hours a week to run it. So I'm then looking for what can I do that's the most efficient, that lets me pursue the things that matter to me in my life.
Mm.
And I feel like that's that's a different kind of efficiency, but it's the exact same mindset because you're figuring out
Yes.
what matters to you in the quickest and the easiest way. Because it might be the quickest way to get to what you want is to be an owner operator. And so stop trying to build a big business. You can keep charging more and more incrementally,
Yes.
become
Yes.
more and more
Yes.
profitable, but that's a viable business model. Or you go, I want to do this other thing over here, and you choose to go down that path. But I feel like sometimes we talked about this a lot. That you come at business and you start building, and it's like you go, I'm going to start a business, and you grab some wood and a hammer and you start nailing stuff.
Hmm.
And you have no idea what you're building. You have no game plan of what it's supposed to look like when it's done, but you're hammering away. Instead of coming up with figuring out what you want this to look like. What do I want my life to look like? What kind of business
Hmm.
do I need to support that? How am I going to fit that in with my family, my values, the other things that matter to me? And then
Yeah.
build just that.
Yeah. Build just that. I mean, I know, like Harrison's here, but, we look at, Reach It. And, I said to Harrison, when you have the business, right, you probably remember this too, because it would have been back in those days. I said, you serve the business, then the business has to serve you. And in those days, what we wanted, because, neither of us had really traveled very much, we came to America for the first time in 2012, and, so we said the business in the early days, and we didn't have any money, we weren't capitalized, we'd go into spring with less than 10 grand in the bank, and all my friends are going, whoa, how can you be in another country with a factory with all this and running yourself down
Mm-hmm.
to start the season again, take off again, but you're actually run yourself to
It's
zero.
like
But
an
that's when I come
airplane.
to
You're pulling
America.
back on the stick.
Yeah, and that's when I'd come to America. I'd say to Harrison, I got to go to America, and because everybody's making decisions, so we'll go to America for the whole of March or whatever, and we'll do all this training and get everybody ready so they're ready to buy. When they turn the key to start their business in spring, they'll buy Reach It. And it was all that. But that was travel, and we've been to, I don't know, I've been to 50 countries. Harrison must have done 35. And so it gave back that. But then later on, as we've got, now we're a global business, but we still don't, we don't, we don't do greedy. We run nothing for nothing. We don't do debt. Because we realize that debt can come and bite you later. You go into debt with an imagination and a dream about the future. I'm not talking about, if you're a window cleaner and you want to finance a car, because that the vehicle makes sense, but short of that. But we don't have a car financed, so we just don't do any financing of anything. And so it makes us want to grow at the organic rate, and we chase referrals and word of mouth and all that. But what is the business giving back to us is quality of life, time with me, time with Ollie, Harrison, time to evolve, the opportunity to evolve and understand more about business. It's much more holistic. Actually, for us, it's much more holistic. We're not, so greedy, and we're not looking to build monuments to ourselves, is to look at me, everybody, I just live in a little apartment and I'm happy,
Because I don't hear as much about it, but remember back in 2015, everybody was into the grind and they wanted to grind. And I'm like, that doesn't sound
Yeah.
fun at all.
No.
Want to grind? That's the least efficient way to cut something.
Oh, nice. Yes. It's really interesting that you say that. Like, just, try and be crystal clear about why you are an owner operator, why you have this business,
Yeah, and you don't have to. I think we get so busy looking at each other sometimes and saying, "Man, this guy's got it all figured out. I want to do that." And it's like,
Do
well, but there's
do
lots of
you,
different
Matt,
ways.
do you counsel people? I'm cross pollinating this idea, but do you counsel people that are actually employees in the same way? Like, do you share that with them? Because I think you're relatively pastoral, aren't you?
Yeah. So I mean, here's so I'll use myself as an example, right? I was
Yeah.
worked for a company for 18 years for a reason. I worked on percentage. I was grandfathered in. I'd been with the company from almost its inception. I basically hit the top of it, but I made decent money. I did what I needed to do. I never really, frankly, wanted to own a company because I didn't want to put that kind of time investment into it, and I knew what it would take to run a business. Um, so yeah, I
Yeah.
think that there's a place where you go, if you can find the right fit, if that's the most efficient way to the life that you're trying to lead, then yeah, absolutely. You
Because
know?
people often talk about, when you talk about delivery and scale, people talk about, finding it difficult to find workers. But then you can also find, and we can say, oh, it's our generation, and I don't think that's true, but there are guys out there like you who got looked after in such a way that 18 years of your life you stayed in that business and made money for that business owner, and so it's that's a really interesting thought to say, and I remember you talking to me about you would go back every few years as you became more valuable and more experienced, and saying, and you also had the little family, so then you start thinking about, I've got to, in order for me to stay here, I've got to, I've got a different cost of life that I've got to meet,
Well,
for
and
my
we kind of
role.
outgrew each other. Like I got to the point where there was nowhere else for me to go, and I was grandfathered in on everything. The business had grown past me, and so it was just the right time. We're still good friends to this day. Um,
Yeah.
but I remember your friend and mine, Tim Fields.
Yes.
He told me one time that he said some of the best employees he's ever had that worked with him, because he was a contractor before he ever went into the service business. He said were guys that had run a small company and they had no desire to run a company anymore because they
There you
didn't want to
go.
be a business owner, and so they would come and they'd love to just work for somebody, and they were comfortable there, and it
Yeah.
suited their lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also because your brother came on board with you, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. He's
But
still
he
with
came
me.
on board. He came on board not as a co-owner, did he? Or did you?
No, he came on as one of our teammates.
Yeah, right.
As an
And
employee.
so that's
Mhm.
again, I look at it and then I think, okay, well, you must offer something that you got. There'll be some DNA that's modified by your experience with your 18 years there that you're able to replicate in the way that you offer, a teammate. I mean, he's your brother, but it's easy to get rid of
I
your
don't know
brother
that
as
I'm nearly
boss,
that advanced, Perry.
aren't you? No,
No,
okay.
I'm pretty
Because I think
simple.
that hidden in there is like, how do you get workers to stay in your business? Because that's
That's a revolving target, and it depends so much on who you're working with.
yeah, yeah, and,
You know,
and there's no predicting it, right? You can't systemize who you attract very much.
you can do what you can, but the service business is always challenging, and in particular, one with basically no skill level entry. You know, so we're training
Yeah.
from the ground up. So you're finding somebody that basically, in many ways, doesn't have another career. And
Yes.
so we're
Yes.
hiring
Yes.
totally on attitude and culture fit, and then trying to, spiff them up, dust them up, brush them off, prop them up, and get them out to do something that they can enjoy and be proud of,
Yeah.
and be a part of something.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Put that Sean comment up again, Ben. Thank you. We'll read it out. I was similar, worked in only 2 businesses in 15 years and then went out on my own for 7 years and love what I do as a business owner, always trying to learn something new. Yeah. Yeah. We're going to get Sean on as well because he's also got this interesting life path,
Mhm.
and very efficiency oriented. I know him, from the conversations we've had. I think we attract the guys that are into efficiency because
Yeah, no doubt.
I geek out on that stuff. Alrighty, well, we are 7 minutes past the hour, Matt. So we'll bring Harrison back in and Ben back in. Ben, do you have any questions? While you've got him,
No.
because he's scarce. He's a rare commodity. This one, Harrison.
You know what? It's just been a pleasure just listening to Matt's voice again. In a
I know.
weird,
I feel the same way,
weird
Harrison. I
nostalgic
miss you,
way.
man.
The dulcet tones of Matt Adwell.
If you ever make it over stateside, because I mean, if I ever make it over into Asia, I'll definitely have to look you guys up.
You've got to bring the family, mate. Once you get here, it's so cheap. You just go and find the cheap flights, and get yourself. It's so inexpensive here.
I'll just
Yeah,
pack
especially
the
visiting
6 of
Perry.
us up, and we'll see you next week.
Yes. The joys of being a business owner. Hey, Matt, like what we do is a little thumbs up.
Because
There you
that's
go.
something.
Two thumbs up. Let's hold it. Hold it up. Come back.
No
This
one can do
should
it.
bring your chest back towards you, Matt.
You got to get
There you go. And up.
There you go.
You'll get the...
Oh.
Yeah, somewhere.
I'm
The old,
I'm
the
fault.
old
My fault,
Great.
Harry.
He may
My
not
You
have
got
the
two left
mic.
thumbs. You got two left thumbs. Anyway, fantastic to talk to you, mate. I love it. And we must keep in touch, yeah?
Great seeing you guys.
Yeah, mate. Okay, thank you, Ben. As always.
Okay, we are all done. For anybody that did not join today, please visit service6sigma.com. If you guys have any future ideas or topic ideas, please message us and we will get back to you. Anything else, Perry?
No, good to go. Let's
Okay.
go.
All right.
See you tomorrow.
You guys, see you guys on the next one.
Yeah.
And I can see it in your eyes, love. And your secret is not safe with me. You can spin through the night with your powder mind, but don't cover up your scars for me. And every single choice that you made was a stone in the path to this place. And every single